Good evening. We're back with more Marvel Champions, and this evening we'll be taking a look at the Mad Titans Shadow expansion box. We'll take a look at the player cards. The first two cycles, well, the whole Galaxy's Most Wanted cycle was a bit lacking in terms of powerful cards. What you want to see from heroes is typically as a card game moves along, you would like to see the challenges get more complex and the cards get more powerful to match the complexity and difficulty of the challenges. Now that's a little bit controversial. It's often referred to as power creep, and it's been an ongoing problem, debate in card games for as long as I've been playing card games. Because as new cards become available that are more powerful, they make older cards obsolete, and then players who are more cynically minded say, well, you're only doing that to motivate people to buy the cards, which is always going to be true. The developers are always trying to sell their cards. But I think it's a necessary part of card games for cards to get more powerful over time, for decks to get more powerful over time, for decks to increase in complexity, for challenges to increase in complexity over time, so that when you look back, decks that you can build now demolish challenges that you used to find difficult. I think that's a natural part of any card game. It was certainly a natural part of Lord of the Rings LCG. Over its 10-year life, more and more powerful cards became available over time, which demolished challenges that were previously difficult or even impossible. And that happened in Star Wars CCG, that's happened in Hearthstone. It'll happen in Marvel Snap, and I expect it'll happen in this game at some point, but for pretty much the entire Galaxy's Most Wanted cycle, we just treaded water. Nothing more powerful really became available. The challenges were extreme, too extreme in the case of the campaign, in my opinion. And the heroes that were available were thematic, but not that strong. And so the entire cycle was, to me, a bit disappointing. I really enjoyed the first cycle with the Captain America in particular. I enjoyed Black Widow, Doctor Strange. I enjoyed the Rise of the Red Skull expansion. I thought it was a good expansion. I liked Spider-Woman. I really liked Ant-Man. Scarlet Witch I found a lot of fun. Quicksilver I found intriguing and fun to play if underpowered in solo. But the third cycle, Galaxy's Most Wanted was the third cycle. The third cycle I found the whole thing a bit disappointing. So, with Mad Titans Shadow, I'm hoping for more power, essentially. I want to move the plot forward. I want access to more intricate deck types. I would like to be able to build decks of increasing complexity that are able to overcome challenges that I previously struggled with. That may not be what everybody is looking for in a card game, but that is what I'm looking for. So we'll see. We'll take a look at the two heroes and the player cards included in Mad Titans Shadow. And we're certainly looking for a better balanced campaign than the Galaxy's Most Wanted, which I found nigh unplayable out of the box with the card pool that was available at the time. So, allow me to climb down off of my soapbox and we'll get started looking at the player cards here. First hero we're going to look at is Monica Rambo Spectrum. Her alter ego, she's got hand size 6, hit points 11, recovery 3. Put all 3 energy form upgrades into play face down. After you change to this form, turn all your energy form upgrades face down. So we have a multiple form hero. The hero side has 1/1/1 stats, that's very weak. Energy transformation. After you change to this form, choose a face down energy form upgrade. Flip that card face up to change to that energy form. So we have 3 forms. Unlike Ant-Man, you can't switch between these forms as part of your hero action. The only way to change to one of these forms is by using a specific hero card or by changing from alter ego to hero form. Let's take a look at the 3 forms. We have Gamma form. Spectrum gets +2 attack. After you change to this energy form, deal 1 damage to an enemy. So that would give her 3/1/1 stats, or 1/3/1, I mean. Photon form, Spectrum gets +2 thwart. After you change to this energy form, remove 1 threat from a scheme. Pulsar form, Spectrum gets +2 defense. After you change to this energy form, heal 1 damage from Spectrum. Okay, so in any form you get a total of 3 stats and you get 1 additional benefit. But you can't change form every round. You need a specific way to do it. So what are we looking for a hero? Well, essentially we're looking for a hero that can build up and get more powerful over the course of the game. Because we're playing on the hardest difficulties that we can possibly manage. And, well, the bosses build up over the course of the game, right? You move from stage 2 to stage 3, or stage 1 to stage 2. And stage 2 is more powerful than stage 1, and stage 3 is more powerful than stage 2. So over the course of the game, the boss is going to get stronger. Therefore, we're looking for heroes who, over the course of the game, get stronger in order to match the increasing strength of the boss. If we have a hero that starts off with a baseline and never gets any stronger, well, then they have to be able to be so good that they just are able to beat stage 3 right off the bat, which means they would straight up demolish stage 2. But what tends to happen a lot of the time is that if you have a hero that doesn't increase in power over the course of the game, you can beat stage 2, but then you just fail in stage 3 as the boss brings new challenges into the game, hits you with a threat bomb or 2 or 3 minions at once, or just gets more powerful in stage 3 with their stats. Then you just lose if your hero has no ability to increase in power over the course of the game. And that was what made the Guardians heroes particularly weak in general, is that they had virtually no ability to increase in power over the course of the game. The heroes that are particularly good at that are heroes like Doctor Strange, who can add his Cloak of Levitation, his Eye of Agamotto, his Sorcerer Supreme to give himself the ability to ready every turn, gain a resource every turn, +1 hand size every turn, and then he also added later Cosmo to assist in cycling through his deck. We have Iron Man, who obviously builds up over the course of the game. Black Panther, though he's quite weak early, builds up over the course of the game. Ant-Man. And by contrast, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Groot had no ability to build up his abilities except he could augment his basic attack, which is unreliable because we often need that to defend. Rocket Raccoon could add tech weapons, but they needed to be cycled out regularly, so they were non-permanent. Star-Lord had Leader of the Guardians and Nowhere. I'd say he's probably the strongest of the Guardians because of those build cards. Gamora, Keen Instincts, Gamora's Sword, and Keen Instincts is a resource generator. All heroes have one. Nothing particularly strong about her. And Gamora's Sword was 3 cost for 1 damage per attack event, so it was very slow. And then we had Venom, who, competes with Star-Lord for the strongest of the cycle with his multi-gun and his spider sense. Decent cards for sure. He didn't match Doctor Strange or Ant-Man or even Iron Man, but he was the strongest of the cycle. So what we're looking for Spectrum is we're looking to see if she has the ability to grow stronger over the course of the game, or when we start the game, is that all we're ever going to get? And if all we're ever going to get is what she starts the game with, it will be difficult to beat high difficulty challenges. Because as the boss gets stronger over the course of the game and the hero stays at the same power, unless you can beat the boss very quickly, the hero will likely lose. Talking about expert or heroic mode, depending on the difficulty of the boss. So let's take a look at Spectrum's cards and see where she's at. First up, we have Blue Marvel. 3 cost, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health. After Blue Marvel enters play, change energy forms. Changing energy forms is worth roughly 1 in value. We can heal, or we can remove 1 threat, or we can deal 1 damage. So it'll be okay value from Blue Marvel. I'd say he's a little bit worse than the average hero-specific ally. Maybe 1 value. He needs like, I don't know, maybe 1 more HP to be good. He seems a little bit weak relative to the average hero-specific ally. We expect a little bit more in value from him than he provides, because that changing energy forms offers versatility, but it only offers 1 in power. And if Spectrum is going to be a hero whose the primary thing that she brings to the table is versatility, well, that's fine, except when it comes at the expense of power. If versatility comes at the expense of power, then it's not going to be a hero that will beat extremely difficult challenges, because extremely difficult challenges, yes, you would like versatility, but you also need raw power to overcome them. Energy duplication, 2 cost upgrade, exhaust energy duplication, generate the printed resource on your face-up energy form upgrades. Do the energy form upgrades have 1 resource or 2? Okay, just 1. So that's your standard 2 cost 1 resource generator. It is a build card. It's a staple for most heroes. This one is fine. We get 2 of them. We've got Gamma Blast. Change to Gamma energy form and deal 7 damage to an enemy. Costs 3. If you were already in Gamma energy form, this attack gains overkill. This is a little bit less than what we would hope for the cost, but it's fine. It's acceptable. I would say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not going to get more powerful over the course of the game. Doesn't allow Spectrum to get more powerful over the course of the game. What you get from this card on turn 1 would be the same thing as what you get in turn 15, but it's fine. You have 3 of those, and we get Photon Speed. 2 cost event, change to Photon energy form and remove 4 threat from a scheme. If you were already in Photon energy form, ignore the crisis icon for this thwart. Okay, 2 cost for 4 threat. Relative to other Justice cards, that's fine. It's not efficient relative to doing damage, and it's not a building card. So it seems so far that what Spectrum brings to the table is versatility, but not necessarily a lot of power. Pulsar Shield, 1 cost event. When Spectrum defends, change to Pulsar energy form and ready Spectrum. If you were already in Pulsar energy form, she gains Retaliate 1 till the end of the phase. So you can change to the Pulsar form, but you gain no additional stats for your 1 cost unless you're already in Pulsar form, in which case you get 1 cost for Retaliate 1, but only for 1 phase. Yeah, so the more cards of hers I see, the more I see a hero whose focus is versatility. And like the Wasp, I found the Wasp a little stronger than I thought she would be, but certainly not a top tier hero, and so that won't be what I'm expecting from Spectrum, though I will go into the playtest with an open mind as much as possible. Speed of Light, 0 cost event, change energy forms and draw a card. That's a great card. That's a high value event. Doesn't get more powerful over the course of the game, but it is a high value card in the moment. Similar to Resize for Ant-Man. I would say they provide very similar value. if not identical value in some cases. We get 3 of those, and that's it for Spectrum's hero cards. It seems like she offers versatility at the expense of power to me. At first glance, that's what this looks like. And it is unlikely that that's going to be a very powerful hero or defeat very difficult challenges in solo play. Let's take a look at the cards that come with her. First up, we have White Tiger, 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack. After you play White Tiger from hand, draw X target cards to a maximum of 3 where X is equal to the villain's stage number. So if we're playing on expert difficulty, a viewer recently pointed out that the villain's stage number doesn't refer to the stage number of the scheme, but the stage number of the actual villain. So if we're starting on expert difficulty, the starting stage number is going to be 2. And that means that if we played White Tiger on turn 1, we'd get a 2 thwart, 2 attack ally with 2 health who draws 2 cards. This is an exceptional ally, one of the best in the game. And this would be an auto-include in any leadership deck for me. Getting 2 thwart or 2 attack, plus a chump block, plus drawing a minimum of 2 cards, 3 cards later in the game is excellent. Very strong ally. One of the best. Kalu, 2 cost, 1/1, 2 health. After Kalu enters play, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an event. Add that event to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Another very strong ally. He's not quite as good as White Tiger. Not quite as exceptional as White Tiger, but very strong. Definitely high on the list of allies to include in leadership. It's possible that he gets cycled out later. It's possible that more powerful allies become available, but I think it'll be a while before that happens because he'd rank pretty high up the list. As long as you got a decent amount of events in your deck. If you couldn't reliably draw a card off of this, then it would be pretty bad, but I think you'll usually be able to, and I think this is a very strong ally. Mighty Avengers, 3-cost support. So Spectrum I found a little underwhelming, or not what I was looking for, I would say. But these leadership cards are great so far. Mighty Avengers, 3-cost support. Play under any player's control. Max 1 team card per player. Oh, interesting. So that's a new trait, a team card. If each of your characters has the Avenger trait, each ally you control gets +1 thwart and +1 attack. That's very strong if you build a deck around it. If you build an Avengers deck, and you could, this card is powerful enough to build an entire deck around. It's a building card. It's a ramp card. A card that stays on the table and makes you more powerful than when you started the game, with no additional investment of resources required. And it's powerful enough, I would say, that you can build a deck around it. We'll have to take a look at the ally list, but if there are enough Avengers in the game now to build a deck around, we'd run this. We'd run Avengers Tower off the top of my head, and I think those would be very strong. Off the top of my head, are these 2 cards, these 2 allies that we've seen are both Avengers? Yeah, I think Mighty Avengers is going to be very good. And you can include 3 of them. Yeah, that's going to be worth building a deck around, I think. And it'll be powerful, more powerful than we've had access to before. Mass Attack, 3-cost event. Exhaust 3 allies you control that share a trait with your hero. Deal X damage to an enemy where X is the total attack of those allies and your hero. So it's another card that gives a use for allies who have run out of uses while they're just waiting around a jump block or whatever. You'd have to get about 8 damage out of this to be good, and that's going to be hard to do with 3 allies. So I don't think this will be that good. I think more often you'll get like 4 or 5 damage, maybe 6 if you're lucky. And I don't think that's quite enough to justify the 3 cost. Moxie we've seen before. Band together, this card generates one wild resource for each ally you control, to a maximum of 3. Question, when you have a card that generates multiple wild resources, can you choose different ones? Can you choose, like, I want 1 strength and 1 leadership resource? Or 1 strength and 1 science resource? Or 1 strength and 1 lightning resource? Or do they all have to be uniform? You can only say, no, I want 2 strength or 2 lightning. Either way, this is a very strong card. It probably won't often generate 3. It'll sometimes generate 2. It'll often generate 1. But I still would include it. I think it's very strong. How many of these can you run? It doesn't say 1 per deck. Yeah, you get 3 of them. Yeah. Build an ally swarm deck. Hopefully all Avengers allies with Mighty Avengers, with Avengers Tower, with Band together. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of potential here. This seems like a big upgrade for the leadership aspect, which was already pretty strong, though Justice was contesting that top aspect spot. Possibly Justice was just the top aspect. But these are strong leadership cards. I like them. Basic cards, we got Blade. A 1 cost, 1 thwart, 2 attack ally with 3 health. After Blade thwarts or attacks, choose to either spend a strength resource from your hand or discard Blade. Okay, well, if all you get out of Blade is, oh, but he doesn't take consequential damage. Interesting. He doesn't take consequential damage for thwarting or attacking. You have to spend the strength resource from hand, so you can't use a resource generator like Super Soldier Serum for him. Well, let's say you kept him on the table, dealing 2 damage every round. Essentially, he's a card whose value relies on making use of resources that you would have otherwise thrown away. Because I think if you just play him for 1 cost and then spend a strength resource every round, he's not that good. I think he's fine, but, you know, average relative to other allies. Unless you're making use of resources that you otherwise would have simply thrown away. If you can do that, then he's going to be good. The more often you do that, the better he is. But if you are spending resources that you had another use for, I think he's meh, average. Not that strong. But there will be times when you would throw away a resource, a strength resource, and you can use it with Blade instead. How often will that be? It depends on the deck, probably. So in certain decks he'll be quite good, in certain decks he'll be very meh. Avengers Tower we've seen before. Avengers Mansion, ready to rumble. 1 cost upgrade, after you change form, discard this card, ready your hero. 1 cost for a ready. I think that previously cost 2. So this is more powerful. It's still not powerful enough, though. It would need to cost 0 before it would really be good enough. Because typically you only get like 2 in value for a ready. So paying 1 cost and then also discarding this card to get 2 in value isn't really enough for me to consider running it. Energy Genius Strength, and then we're into the Obligation. We also have Captain America, 6 cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, 4 health, and toughness. Reduce the cost to play Captain America by 1 for each Avenger character you control. Well, theoretically, if you could reduce his cost by 2, he would be pretty good. well above average. If you could reduce his cost by 3, he'd be phenomenal. If you used his toughness to block a boss attack. If you used his toughness for a thwart of 2 and an attack of 2, you would need him to cost 3 to be phenomenal. If he costed 4, he'd be okay at 4. So he's definitely worth running in the Avengers deck that seems to be taking shape with this expansion. I would run him in that deck. I think you could at least reduce his cost by 1 for your hero, so you really only need one other Avenger on the table to make him decent. Probably gets thrown away if you draw him in the opening hand, but I think you can make him good often enough, especially with Avengers Tower out where you can play an additional ally. May even want to run Triskelion in the Avengers deck. I think that will be decent in this deck. I've never run that in a deck before, but I think Triskelion I would run if I'm running Avengers Tower and using an Avengers Ally Swarm. And then we have Power Man. 3 cost, 1 thwart, 0 attack, 3 health. He enters play with 2 chi counters on him. Discard any number of chi counters from Power Man. He gets +2 attack for each chi counter discarded this way until the end of the phase. So let's say you gave him 1 attack for 4 with the 2 chi counters, and then you used him to block. That's not that good. If you thwarted with him twice and then used him to block, that's worse. I think this guy is underwhelming. Yeah, I don't see it. I think he's not very good. I don't understand this 2 chi counters mechanic. With the 2 consequential damage, it seems there's really only one way to play him, which is to use both the counters at once, get 1 attack for 4, which deals 2 consequential damage, and then use him to block. So I'm not sure I understand this card, but I don't think it's very good. Doesn't offer enough value for its cost. Alrighty, that's it for Spectrum. The Monica Rambo cards, not that impressive. The leadership cards that come with her, very good. 2 strong allies, mighty Avengers band together. This is Blade as well. Yeah, this is strong. This is a new deck type that we've seen, a trait-specific deck type. An Avengers deck type. We've seen it in other card games, of course, but we haven't seen it in this one, really. The traits are rather underdeveloped at the moment, though we've seen inklings of what they could be. And now we see the Avengers trait getting developed, and it seems strong to me. So let's take a look at the other hero included in this expansion. That is Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock has 6 hand size, 11 health, and 3 recovery. During deck building, your deck must include an equal number of cards from all 4 aspects. You cannot include more than 1 copy of any non-Adam Warlock card. Discard a card from your hand, remove a status card from Adam Warlock. Interesting. But you can only do that in Alter Ego, so we probably won't end up using it that much. The deck building thing I like. I liked when they did that with Spider-Woman. I like it here with Adam Warlock. I think it's going to allow for some interesting combinations, interesting decks. I don't really like the can't include more than 1 copy of any non-Adam Warlock card. That kind of ruins that. That kind of rules out playing the new Avengers trait deck. I don't know if Adam Warlock's an Avenger. Is he an Avenger? Probably not. He's probably a Guardian, right? Yeah, he's a Guardian. So he couldn't play the Avengers deck anyway. I never really like running one-off cards because you can't consistently plan around them. However, I do like this deck building aspect to Adam Warlock. It opens up a lot of possibilities, same as Spider-Woman's. Adam Warlock's stats. He has the standard 5 hand size, 1/1/2 stats, pretty weak. Battle Mage. Discard one card from hand, limit once per phase. If that card is aggression, deal 2 damage. Justice, remove 2 threat. Protection, heal 1 damage from an ally. Leadership, give a hero +1/+1/+1 this round. Usually you would want aggression or justice, I'd imagine. Situationally, protection. Probably not leadership very often. 1 for 2 is a good way to use cards that you don't have a use for. If you're discarding cards that you did have a use for, this isn't an ability that is that good. He's Mystic. That means he can use Sorcerer Supreme and Spiritual Meditation. Sorcerer Supreme is an excellent ramp card, giving you hand size 6 while in hero form. Very, very strong ramp card. So overall, the hero part of this card is a little bit weak, but made stronger by Mystic. A little bit weak because his stats are weak and his action only provides 1 for 2, which is like the standard. It's meh, it's okay. But it does offer versatility, so are we going for both heroes in this set having versatility? Well, at least the leadership aspect from Spectrum offered more power. Let's take a look at Adam Warlock's hero cards. Pip the Troll. 2 cost ally, 1/1, 2 health, has toughness. When Pip the Troll is in your hand, he gains interrupt when a player is attacked. Spend lightning science resources. Put Pip the Troll into play under that player's control. I don't think much of that ability, but I like the stats combined with the toughness. If you use him to block 2 boss attacks, he's very strong. Exceptional even. You don't even need the interrupt ability. Just play him, use his toughness to block a boss attack, then have him thwart or attack for 1 and then block another boss attack. That's a very efficient and phenomenal use for the card. An exceptional card under those circumstances, and we don't even really need the interrupt, which I wouldn't really assign any extra value to, but I suppose situationally it could save you from time to time. Soul World. 1 cost support. After your deck runs out of cards, place 1 soul counter here. Exhaust Soul World and remove 1 soul counter from it. Heal all damage from your identity while you're in alter ego. Probably not going to be helpful very often, but when it is, it will be very, very helpful. Would be my assessment of this. Yeah, probably it'll save your life from time to time, maybe more often than I think, but so when it's good, it's going to be really, really good. It's just not going to be really, really good that often, probably not every game. Because you have to have it out. You have to have the time when you can spend 1 resource and not get anything for a while. And then you really need to have your deck run out, then flip to alter ego. And then you can heal X amount of damage, and that's a lot of effort for what may end up only being 3 or 4 healing. However, there will be times when you get 7 or 8 healing when it's really, really strong. So, overall, I like the card. It's thematic. It's probably better than the average alter ego card. Every hero seems to have an alter ego card, at least one. Yeah, it's interesting, we'll say. Not entirely sure how often it'll be useful, but I suspect not that often, but occasionally will be really, really good. Karmic Staff, 2 cost upgrade, exhaust to generate a wild resource. Okay, it's a standard resource generator, it's fine. Warlock's Cape, 2 cost upgrade after you resolve Adam Warlock's Battle Mage ability, which is the ability built into his hero card. Exhaust Warlock's Cape and ready Adam Warlock. Okay, that's a good ramp card, gives him the ability to ready himself. That's one of the tools Doctor Strange has. and Iron Man has, and those are strong heroes. So we got a resource generator, we got the ability to ready. Comes at a cost of 1 card discard, but you also get 2 in value from that. Cosmic Ward. When you reveal a treachery card, cancel its when revealed effects and discard it, then discard Cosmic Ward. Okay, good defensive card. It's a little bit different than the ones we've seen before in that we can play it early when we have the resource for it and then wait for it to be useful. Alright, that gives it a little bit more appeal than previous iterations from other heroes. Mystic Senses, 2 cost upgrade after you resolve Adam Warlock's Battle Mage ability. Draw 1 card. Okay, we're looking at a hero that can ramp up a little bit. We're looking at a hero that can add the ability to draw a card, that can gain hand size with Sorcerer Supreme, that can gain the ability to ready himself and generate a resource. Was the resource generator a one-off? Yeah, it was. Still, we're looking at a hero with some decent tools and an interesting card deck building aspect. Karmic Blast, 2 cost event, deal 4 damage to an enemy and discard up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Deal 1 additional damage to that enemy for each different aspect discarded this way. Well, we need to get at least 2 different aspects just to make this card acceptable. If you get 3 or 4, it's pretty good, pretty decent. Compares favorably to other damage dealing cards. So sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be meh. It'll never be terrible, really terrible. Minimum of 5 damage for 2. And given that you have to have 1 different aspect card. Now you could get a bunch of hero cards, in which case you'd get 0 power, and that would be pretty terrible. That should be relatively rare though. I think generally this will be acceptable with some potential to be some potential to be above average sometimes. Cosmic Awareness, 2 cost event, remove 3 threat. Okay, so it's the same as the card we just saw, but with threat instead of damage. Same thing applies to this card. We'd like to get 3 different aspect cards to make this good. Not going to happen that often. Occasionally it'll be good. More often it'll be okay. It'll just be like a slightly improved For Justice. And Karmic Blast will be like a slightly improved Relentless Assault. And that's about what you expect from a hero card. A slightly improved aspect card, and it's fine. Nothing exceptional, but it's fine. Quantum Magic. Choose a card in your discard pile, add that card to your hand. Okay. So we're looking at a hero that's got some of the tools of Doctor Strange, some similarities. The ability to ready himself, can use Sorcerer Supreme. This would be similar to, what was it, Master of the Mystic Arts, that can replay a card from the Invocation deck. This can replay a card from your discard pile for 1 cost. It'll offer versatility, but it doesn't offer power up front, and you have to pay a price for the versatility. Versatility seems to be a theme of this expansion. And that's it for Adam Warlock's cards. I think he's stronger than Spectrum because of his ability to ramp up. He may be weaker in the early game, but I think he's stronger in the late game if you get out his full build with the Karmic Staff, the Warlock's Cape, the Karmic Staff, the Warlock's Cape, and what was the other card? The Mystic Senses, the Sorcerer Supreme. I think these are good tools that will ramp him up into the late game. And he's got interesting deck building possibilities. So he's kind of like a hybrid between power and flexibility. None of his ramp cards augment his damage So it's really all about flexibility with him, but drawing extra cards is a form of power, as is readying, though with his stats, the readying doesn't have that much value unless you make use of his innate ability to discard a leadership card to augment his stats, and then the readying gains more value. So he's like he's another versatility champion, but I think he's more powerful than Spectrum, at least at full build. So let's take a look at the cards that come with him. We have Marvel Boy. 2 cost 0 thwart 2 attack. When Marvel Boy attacks, spend a strength resource. This attack gains piercing and range, so you can get the attack through a toughness. He's fine. There's nothing special about this ally. I wouldn't say he's particularly good. He's meh. What you get for him generally will be 2 damage and then a jump block for your 2 cost. Sometimes you'll want to use the strength resource to get rid of a toughness. The price you pay for that is nothing special, though. Toughnesses are really only worth 1 damage, so if you just added 1 damage to this card, it's still pretty meh. Really below average ally. In-Betweener. 2 cost event, Cosmic Entity. Shuffle this card into the encounter deck without looking. Deal 2 damage to the villain and remove this card from the game. This effect cannot be cancelled, so it eats an encounter card. Essentially, it cancels an encounter card. And you deal 2 damage, so canceling an encounter card is typically worth about... Well, canceling a treachery is worth about 1 cost. Canceling an ally can be worth more. Now, this doesn't cancel an ally, it just replaces one. Means you take longer to get through the encounter deck, but you still have to deal with all of its challenges. A difficult card to evaluate how much this is actually worth, but my estimation is that this card is fine. Nothing exceptional, but it's fine. It could be run. But you get nothing for it when you first play it, and that's difficult in solo. We almost always need to get some value right away from the cards that we play in solo. Magic Attack. 1 cost attack spell. Play only if your identity has the mystic trait. 1 per deck. Okay, seems built for Adam Warlock, who can only ever include 1 of each card per deck, but choose an enemy and discard up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Deal 1 damage to that enemy for each card discarded that way. That's a great card. That's very strong. I would absolutely play this in Adam Warlock. I like it. It's very good. It's actually better than his built-in hero cards for damage. Must auto-include in Adam Warlock, I think. Uppercut and combat training, we've seen Audacity. Max 1 per deck. After you spend this card, deal 1 damage to the villain. Okay, so it's just a resource and you get 1 damage. It's good. Definitely included in Adam Warlock. I'd probably include it in every aggression deck, I think. At least try it out. At first glance, it looks like something I'd include in every deck. Generate a wild resource and get 1 damage for it. I like it. Kazar. Justice ally. 3 cost 1 thwart 2 attack 3 health. After he enters play, remove 1 threat from each scheme in play. If there are 2 schemes on the table that you need to get 1 threat off of, that would make him more or less on par with the average hero-specific ally. More than that would be even better. Less than that would be a little worse. On average, you'll probably get 1 threat depending on the scenario that you're tackling. So he's okay. For a Justice ally, though, he's above average. The Justice allies tend to be a little weaker on average, so probably he gets included for now in Justice decks and then cycled out as more powerful allies become available. Just he gets included now because the Justice allies are a little weaker on average. Living Tribunal, a 2-cost event. Shuffle this into the deck without looking. The encounter deck, remove 2 threat from the main scheme and remove this card from the game. So similar value to the aggression version. And once again, usually we need to get something right away for our cost in solo, but in the long run it provides acceptable value but nothing exceptional. For Justice, we've seen Zone of Silence. A 1-cost event, a spell, a thwart. Play only if your identity has the Mystic trait. So it could go in Doctor Strange as well. And we probably would put the aggression one in Doctor Strange if we were playing aggression Doctor Strange. Choose a scheme and discard up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Remove 1 threat from that scheme for each card discarded this way. Another auto include in Adam Warlock. Would get included in Doctor Strange as well if we were running Justice, but you couldn't run both the Justice and the aggression one of this card in Doctor Strange, but you can in Adam Warlock. And I definitely would. Seems like an auto include. Heroic Intuition, Determination. After you spend this card, remove 1 threat from the main scheme. Another card I'm including in Adam Warlock for sure. A resource plus 1 threat reduction. That's great. Major Victory. 2-cost leadership ally, 1 threat, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health. When Major Victory is defeated, choose a friendly guardian character and ready that character. Okay, this ally is fine. He's a little bit worse than the average hero-specific ally. A little bit better than the average ally overall. He's fine. He doesn't contribute to an Avengers deck. He's probably worth including in a Guardians deck, but it's iffy. It's iffy. He's not a 100% must include, but he's okay. Yeah, he's okay. Eternity. Shuffle this card into the encounter deck without looking. Draw 1 card and remove this from the game. Well, it's a little bit better than its aggression or justice versions, but still nothing exceptional. And this may be the one I'm most likely to include, but once again, it's tough to not get any value at all for the card that you play right away. Summoning Spell, 2-cost event, play only if your identity has the Mystic trait, 1 per deck. Discard from the top of your deck until you discard an ally, put that ally into play under your control. That could be very... I don't think this is ever really terrible, unless you get a 1-cost ally. But even then you're drawing a card and putting it into play. I think this is an exceptional card. I would include this in every leadership deck where your identity has the Mystic trait. Very, very strong card. An auto include in leadership Doctor Strange. For sure. I like it. And an Avengers Synergy Doctor Strange deck. Leadership deck with this card seems like it might be the best deck in the game right now. At first glance, we'll see. We gotta experiment with it, but we'll see. But yeah, this card seems very strong. Make the Call, Inspired. Innovation, after you spend this card, heal 1 damage from an ally you control. Auto include in Adam Warlock, auto include in a leadership deck. It's a good card. Charlie 27, 4-cost, 1 threat, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 4 health, retaliate 1, toughness. It's fine. I guess it's fine if it defends 2 boss attacks with that toughness. But then you have to play it and just wait and do nothing for the immediate moment. And so that's not going to help you if you need immediate thwarting or attack. Hard to find the time when you can spend 4 resources and not do anything immediately. If you use it and you have to use that toughness on consequential damage, I don't think this card is very good. In fact, it's pretty bad if you have to do that. So I would say that it's okay if you can play it optimally, but you may not be in a situation that often in solo play on higher difficulties where you can do that. So I probably don't run this. The Gardener. Okay, so we get the protection version of the card that gets shuffled into the encounter deck. Heal 2 damage from your identity and remove this card from the game. This effect cannot be cancelled. It's fine, but once again, hard to play in solo because of not getting anything for it immediately. The value is acceptable. I probably won't run these cards in Adam Warlock. Maybe I might try experimenting with them, I don't know, but probably not. I don't think I will run these cards in Adam Warlock. Shield Spell, a 0-cost event that you can only play if you have the Mystic trait. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, discard that many cards from the top of your deck, prevent all damage from this attack. It's a great defensive card. Auto include in Adam Warlock. All of these one-off must-be Mystic cards have been really strong. I like them all, and I will include them all. They might as well be hero-specific, but it's nice that they're not because they can be played in a Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch deck. Preservation. After you spend this card, heal 1 damage from your hero. Great. Include it for sure. Martinex, 3 cost, 1/1/4. Reduce the cost to play by 1 if your identity is the Guardian trait, so then he would cost 2. He's exceptional at 2 cost. This is an auto include if you have the Guardian trait. I like it. If you didn't have the Guardian trait, no, don't think he's that good. Well, he's not quite exceptional if you have the Guardian trait. He's very strong. Not quite exceptional, but he is very strong in an auto include. And it'll be a long while before he gets cycled out for something more powerful. Strong card. And is that it? That is it. So overall, it seems like an expansion focused on versatility, but with a big upgrade to leadership, specifically to an Avengers Synergy deck. And with a champion with a lot of upside, Adam Warlock, but possibly not enough power. We'll have to playtest him, but his ramp abilities are all focused on versatility. Readying, drawing a card. Do you get 2 copies of Mystic Senses? That's a lot of ramping. You could make some plays with that, but it'll take a while to build. Yeah, he's got potential, but he may lack power. We'll have to see. His versatility may come at the expense of power, but I like him in theory because of his deck building aspect and because he can ramp up. But we'll try out both Spectrum and Adam Warlock and see where we're at. So, thank you for watching.